Man, this is a great movie. Great recommendation. I think everyone should watch this. Thanks.
Hey, I've got good taste.
Yeah, 2-disc special edition. Great behind the scenes. I loved it. Here you go.
I have a lot of work to do in the back,
Yeah.
so I am out of here. That was fun.
Ooh, I am excited. How you doing, Karen? All right. Let's talk about this.
Are you ready for the Cinemassacre 2019 live tour? See the angry video game nerd himself, James Rolls. Witness the denim dirtbag, Kieran. Say hello to no one's favorite, Justin. And behold, movies being hacked by Tony. March 30th to 31st, see us at PAX East in Boston, Massachusetts. We'll be signing at the Screenwave Media booth and showing off the remastered Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. Head over to Hanover, Pennsylvania, Saturday, April 6th to experience the vicious velocity of Vault video games. Saturday, April 13th, come to Cecil Con in Cecil College in Northeast Maryland. Cecil be there or Cecil beware. Too many games, too many games, too many games! June 21st to 23rd in Oaks, Pennsylvania. Rental reviews will blow the roof off as they unleash their first ever live panel. Check the link in the description to get your tickets today, and make sure to follow us on Twitter for all event updates.
Last week we debated what's our favorite Indiana Jones movie, Raiders or Crusade. Now this time we're going to talk about the lesser movies, the ones that typically get criticized a lot more, which would be Temple of Doom and Crystal Skull. So let's go one at a time. Which of the two is your favorite?
Really?
Tough decision.
I'll go last.
You'll go last.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm kind of undecided.
Okay, you're going to be the undecided one this time. All right. Okay.
It's Temple of Doom.
All right.
Why are we even having this conversation? It's Temple of Doom.
Oh, it's absolutely Temple of Doom. Like, what are you talking about?
All right. So you guys both Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
All right. Well, mine. I know it may be surprising, but I'm going to go Crystal Skull. Tough choice for me, but
is that the skull of Dan Aykroyd?
the Crystal Skull of Dan Aykroyd's vodka.
Was that him in the movie that blows the woman off? It was Dan Aykroyd the whole time?
We are confident that people will enjoy the very slight, creamy sweetness given to the tongue and palate from a serving of Crystal Head, Triple Herkimer Diamond Filtered Newfoundland Deep Aquifer Pure Spirit Vodka.
Speaking of the Crystal Skull, like I find the relic in this movie a little more interesting because Temple of Doom has the Sankara stones. Yeah. And I never really, the stones to me, they weren't really that interesting. The Crystal Skull, however, they actually do have, stories attached to them. They do exist. They do not know how these skulls originated, and that's part of the mystery. And with that, there's a theory that a lot of people say that they were created by aliens, which if anybody knew about that, wouldn't have been so shocked that there's aliens in an Indiana Jones movie.
I think that's why
it's in the fucking title.
Yeah, I think that's why early on they try to link it to area like Nevada, Roswell aliens, but I don't think they do a good job of connecting those two at all.
Roswell's in New Mexico, and then Nevada would be Area 51, so I don't know which one they were doing.
And then later on, they were just like, oh, these aliens might be cousins to the other aliens. It's like, what was so important about finding the first alien? I don't know.
Basically, Spielberg likes aliens.
Here's the thing. I'm fine with aliens in Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a world where Judaism, Christianity, and Hinduism are all the right religion, and they all exist.
Not to mention, the aliens is like a religion itself. Because he even says it depends who your God is in the one scene. So when a lot of people argue, oh, all the other Indiana Jones movies are religious things. Well, this one's also linked to a religion.
And I mean, like, if you go into the expanded universe, there's stuff with like Atlantis and stuff. So aliens, the idea of aliens didn't bother me. It was the execution of the aliens that bothered me.
I can't deny the alien looked like shit. Coming from the guy who made E.T. and Close Encounters, there was no excuse for it to look that bad.
I mean, we should have seen this coming because his War of the Worlds aliens looked a lot like the Independence Day aliens. We should have known they were going to be a letdown.
The aliens in this looked like the future robots and AI. The really thin ones, and mixed with the ones from Fire in the Sky. So this thing scared the shit out of me because I'm deathly afraid of those goddamn aliens.
Fire in the Sky is a really creepy movie. But yeah, before Crystal Skull, this is something I've always heard, that Temple of Doom was the weakest. And I've heard this from like fans, you guys, Steven Spielberg, Kate Capshaw, George Lucas. What is everyone's problem? Temple of Doom is great.
Are you saying Temple of Doom's better than Crusader Raiders?
All right, look, I'll concede that Raiders is probably a better movie story-wise.
That's one of your concessions you're giving up?
Yeah, Last Crusade is probably more focused story-wise. But I think Temple of Doom is the best sequel. I think it's just another fun adventure. It's about the adventure. It's not so much about Indiana Jones as a character.
It is fun, and I think they took a lot more risk with this one than they did Crusade.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the movie's very influential. It helped create the PG-13 rating.
That's true, yeah.
There was,
and Gremlins.
Yeah, well, the MPAA is bullshit anyway. Nothing's consistent.
There's actually a documentary on that, which is real good. Yeah,
it should be done away with. It should just say what's in the movie that might be problematic. Don't put a label on it, because that really fucks with people. It's a fun adventure movie, and I don't understand. The problem I have the most is with Spielberg. Like, he really comes down on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go into the problems with it, I could start going. But
I understand there were like issues, but like.
But both of these movies are flawed.
The most important part of like I feel like with Indiana Jones and old stuff like that is like how much fun is the adventure and action, and this movie is just relentless. It's nonstop. They had to add scenes in it to slow it down because it was so action packed.
See, I don't think there's anything fun about watching people eat eyeballs and monkey brains and the bugs. Like, I actually can't watch the bug scene. It's just like, and that's not fun.
I love that scene. I don't, but I agree. Every time I watch, the eyeballs, I got an issue with, obviously.
Oh, okay,
but the bug scene, it creeps me out. But it's kind of like why I like horror movies. Like, I like being scared. I like being creeped out. I'm like, ah.
If it was me in that scene when you have to like reach in to get the button, we'd be dead.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
I think most of those bugs are like non-toxic.
Yeah.
They actually have one of them at, they had a bug exhibit at the Franklin Institute, and they had some of those bugs. They're actually, in real life, they're pretty creepy. But to me, it's a gross out movie. It's like, I don't think Indiana Jones needs to go that far. It should just be a fun adventure movie, not like this scary, like weird, dark.
But the first one had scary stuff. You had those like kind of skeletons that kind of come back to life.
But more moderate. Like they were placed a little better.
This one went all in on it.
This one went with the bugs, while like Crusade went with the rats. Like there was a lot of rats. The first one with a lot of snakes. This one with a lot of bugs.
Well, yeah, but we're not comparing Temple of Doom to Crusade or Ark. We're comparing it to goddamn Crystal.
I know.
Crystal does have the ants, which were based on the naked.
That's true too.
Yeah,
I love the ant scene. I really like that scene.
And they were based on the Naked Jungle, which is another like blatant scene that they like copied off of.
Army ants are terrifying.
But they were CG, but I don't know how else they could have really had ants crawling like all into a guy's mouth, and
My whole issue is like, I understand you might not think it's the best Indiana Jones. Fine. Steven Spielberg is like, he said it's like all one. He acts like it's like the worst film he's made. He's made worse movies. He's made worse sequels before. He needs to calm down.
Temple of Doom?
Lost World Jurassic Park is.
I love Lost World Jurassic Park. Don't even, because
you're an idiot. It's worse than Temple of Doom. It is worse than Temple of Doom.
Hold on.
No. It takes no. We're not getting into Lost World right now.
Wait, real quick. Tony likes Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, because it's fast. It's action-packed.
No, that movie sucks my dick. That movie sucks.
Point is, Lost World is definitely worse than Temple of Doom. It's boring as shit. Temple of Doom is great. No. Oh my god.
Lost World is way more like watchable.
Nothing happens for 50 minutes. They're sitting in rooms talking for 50 minutes.
I like Lost World a lot better than Temple.
I don't know.
And Crystal Skull, I'll say that too.
It's just really, really fun. It knew what people like, and like the tension in all the scene. Like Temple of Doom, they're so fucking.
It begins with that stupid nightclub.
Hey, all right. I want to talk about here's another personal connection.
Anything goes.
So one reason is I watched this one the most growing up. So that I love this one. I didn't see the first one until years later.
I will say I also watched this one the most too.
Yeah. I love the beginning because they're playing one thing people remember about this movie, it has some very problematic stereotypes.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes.
Oh, sneak, surprise, chilled monkey brain.
And they're singing Anything Goes. And I connected that because in high school, I was in Anything Goes, and I played the problematic stereotype Asian character. So I'm like, oh man, I really connect to this movie.
One of my problems with the movie is this, I mean, not that it's really a problem, but I see Temple of Doom as more of a guilty pleasure movie where it's like a bad movie, but that you enjoy, because I still enjoy it. I feel like it has an advantage over Crystal Skull because we all saw it as a kid, and then you have these decades go by, and then a new movie comes out, and there's no way it's going to look like it fits in to the three that came out in the 80s with young Harrison Ford. So I just feel like this one has the nostalgia factor going for it, and I feel like it's like an advantage. It just has like an unfair advantage.
Like I'll say this: I watched Crystal Skull for the first time for this review.
Oh, ever?
I just didn't want to watch it when it came out. Not because I was like, how dare they make another Indiana Jones? I was just like,
you weren't interested.
I'm good.
Because you were smart enough to realize there shouldn't be an old Indiana Jones. Which is a big problem.
That's true. I liked it. I like Crystal Skull. Well, then I don't care.
All right, hold on.
You can't reverse age him, so it's like done then.
Just recast him like James Bond does.
So anyway, another thing that I have about this movie, and none of you guys brought up this argument, which actually I find so refreshing, is that we've been doing this so far for about like 15 minutes or so, and not one of you have mentioned all the cliche complaints on this movie. So I guess let's just bring them up. There's the nuclear bomb. You know, he goes into a lead-lined fridge and survives. Okay.
I'm actually okay with that scene.
Yeah, you know, I am too, but anyway, that's one of the big...
There's a lot wrong with it, but it's Indiana Jones.
Because first of all, like, it's not like nothing unrealistic happens in Temple of Doom or any of the others. He falls out of a plane in an inflatable raft, falls for 15 seconds. I counted it, 15-second drop. He hits the slope, goes off a cliff, flies again, it lands in a river, and then you're telling me that the nuclear bomb, that's just where you cross the line?
Shattered their skeletons like into powder. Their skeletons would just compact once they hit the ground.
The fridge would be gone, but it was lead lined.
The thing about a nuclear bomb is it's not like it's a bomb that just shoots radiation. There's also intense heat that's like the sun. Like, that's one thing that, like, you know, oh, you're radioactive. No, there's also like a giant fireball.
I always felt there was an aftershock, not an aftershock, it'd be like a pre-shock.
The shockwave that hits like in Terminator when they all blow up.
And I'm talking movie logic, not real logic. I would assume there was a pre-blast that actually pushed the fridge away from the blast area. He's far enough away now. It's lead-lined. And then comes like the radiation and the heat and everything.
Let's say it's lead lined so the radiation can't get through. Let's say that. Let's say it protects the heat, it's insulated, whatever. Let's say it's a perfect safe outside, it won't come in. It's still tumbling down a hill and hits the ground at Mach 2. He opened the door and be smushed.
You can say the same thing. You can say the same thing about Iron Man, and everyone's fine with those movies.
James Bond, who we've established is big inspiration, you know, for Indiana Jones. James Bond is like hanging on a plane. He's like the whole point of James Bond and the film serials, which is in the background now, is that there's always this cliffhanger. The hero always escapes something that is completely impossible. And if this was any other movie, it might be a little too like, okay, but
this is different. You saw the fridge fly out and you saw him get him, so you know he's going to be okay. The problem is he gets out like it's no problem, and then there's a CG groundhog on the fucking ground.
So there's the other thing.
It was the groundhog from Caddyshack.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing: the gophers, the monkeys, like.
I didn't mind the monkey scene. It's not that bad.
It's like, I don't either. I just think it's so exhausting hearing these complaints about these things that happen for like 10 seconds. You could cut like if they did a fan edit and just cut that shit out, I think you'd have a pretty decent movie.
It's not so much the monkeys themselves. It's just Lucas and Spielberg were so neutered on this movie. They really held back on like the violence that Indiana Jones purposely murders, I think, one person. He kills a lot of people by like accident.
Raiders?
No, in Crystal Skull.
Okay.
Like that guy that he shoots the dart in, I'm not even sure he murders him. But like he never.
Ernie Reyes Jr.?
Yeah. I don't think he shoots anyone.
Surf ninjas.
I don't think he ever shoots anyone. He like crashes a car into people. There's people who get killed as a result of what he does.
He didn't kill those guys. Well, he might have killed the Russian guy, but he didn't kill Mac.
It's not bad enough that there's monkeys in it. It's that like the bad guy throws the monkey. Indiana Jones 1, that monkey dies. The movie makes a point to show you that he lived, he grabbed onto a vine. It's like, who gives a fuck? Like, put some danger in this movie.
I mean, I don't want to see...
If even the monkeys are safe, why do I think the heroes are going to be in any kind of danger?
It's like G.I. Joe when they all like blow up and then they come out with parachutes. Like the Cobras are always okay.
Like, James, you're going step by step. Like, oh, you like Temple of Doom because of these reasons, and you don't like Crystal Skull, Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Head Vodka, Indiana Jones. You don't like Crystal Skull because of these reasons, like the explosion and the CGI. It's like, yeah, I find all that stuff bad, but not as bad as creating the movie in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's not that I have a lot of, I don't have a lot of nitpickies, like, oh, well, this, like, in Doom, this part is just as bad as this part in Crystal Skull. I just don't think this should have happened. And this should have happened a little bit better.
Yeah, here's my issue with Crystal Skull. One, Indiana Jones is too old. The bad idea. Just do another adventure. It requires you to have so much knowledge of the other films.
Well, he's older now, and they're doing a fifth one.
Which is also a bad idea. Yeah. But like the first three, you can watch them out of order and be fine. Like you'll miss like a few callbacks.
Yeah, they're not linked strongly.
But like Crystal Skull, if you had no idea who Indiana Jones is, like the whole scene where they're talking about like his dad, and it's like, okay, what about his dad? Okay, I guess he missed his dad, and they're talking about Marcus Brody, and like, who is this character? He was a dean. Okay, well, why was he important?
They're so brief, though. Like, to me, I just saw them as little callbacks.
They're so brief. They should have just not been in the movie.
Although Marion as a supporting character,
that's weird. I
actually really liked that she was in it because she was like one of the best supporting characters from any of the movies. Yeah. And it was really good to have her in it as a callback for the fans. Whereas Temple of Doom, first of all, you have Short Round, who's this playing up Asian stereotypes, and then which is really bad. And then you have
that
Willie.
Actor is fine with the role. He really loved that movie.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, they had fun with it and everything, but it's just one of those things you look back, you're like, eh. But then you have Willie, the girl, who is this stereotypical damsel in distress. She screams over everything. Like, she just screams through the whole movie.
That's why I like Marion. She's badass. Like she's actually like she is, toe to toe with Indy the entire movie. Yeah. Even when you think she's dead, she's not. Like she's tough. She's cool.
Yeah, but I like that. What's her name? Willie was different. It would have been weird if there was just another Marion.
I think she just totally ruined the movie.
My theory on that is George Lucas has said many times he was in a very bad mood making this movie. Lucas. I thought it was both, but it's just Lucas because he just went through a divorce. And when you watch this movie, you have this annoying female character that's just constantly
yelling. Spielberg ends up marrying, actually.
Married in real life, who's yelling at the mail, and then you have a guy get his heart ripped out, and you have kids getting beat up. It's like, wow, Lucas, I think your feelings of your divorce might have bled over into this movie.
Are you saying that the heart being ripped out is symbolic?
Yes, I think Lucas was like, hey, have the guy's heart ripped out, and they're like, okay, that's weird, Lucas, and have him still alive screaming, and they're like, okay, Lucas, why are you crying?
That is brilliant.
That's how I imagine that.
George Lucas's wife, before he was like divorced her and everything too, she lowered him into a pit of lava. Also.
Just if you're saying that, it's symbolic that, the heart being ripped out and all that stuff, I think just like the Crystal Skull, they got to put the head on the thing. Maybe they, Lucas and Spielberg should have had a fucking head and done this movie differently. Because I know Lucas always wanted to do Aliens of Indiana Jones, like since the beginning. He's like, oh, we got to do Aliens. And Spielberg's like, no, please don't.
So I watched Crystal Skull on the way here. I watched the whole movie. And I watched it once before, like a few years ago, and I never really thought it was shit. I liked it. I was like, you know what? It's a solid Indiana Jones film. It feels like Indiana Jones.
I was so shocked because afterwards I was like, oh, that was okay.
Well, everybody tells me it's shit, and everyone's like, oh, it sucked. It's the worst movie.
It's not as bad as like the prequels or not because Spielberg's a better director. There's good stuff in the movie. The first two acts, there's stuff that I really like in it. I like the motorcycle chase. Oh, yeah. I don't mind the nuclear bomb scene, and my one defense of that is Temple of Doom has a roller coaster built over lava. They're both ridiculous. I like that. The whole setup for the nuke was kind of weird. There's some fun stuff with him and Mud.
I like the nuke scene because I also like that it's the 50s now. They're playing some Elvis. It's like...
I mean, did you want him fighting the Nazis again? It's like, it's a good idea.
I get it's like now it's post, it's like Cold War era kind of. It's after World War II. Yeah. I liked, honestly, too, I like Shia LaBeouf in this movie. I know, like, this was from that time.
I think he got a bad rap in this movie.
Well, I think the thing was he was doing, like, everything. He was in Transformers. He was in, like, every movie, and then he kind of went weird.
He came out and he was like, oh, I hated doing that movie and it sucked, and Harrison Ford's like, if you're cash the check, shut the hell up. Like something like that happened.
Then again, Harrison Ford shits on his own movies sometimes. So
I didn't think he was that bad as like Indiana Jones's son. I thought he was pretty decent. I thought all the action was on par with the other movies. I think the set piece
Except it was a little too green screen CG.
yeah, that's the thing.
That's the way it is. Like
Harrison Ford did his own stunts in Crystal Skull. Like he used the whip. He was really swinging and doing the stuff on the Jeep and everything. Like he really did his own stunts in this too.
I felt like it was more believable him coming back as Han Solo, except for that one scene where he's shooting stormtroopers without looking. That was dumb as shit.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. He doesn't really feel like Indy to me in this, and maybe that's because my idea of Indy should just be like young adventurer.
You think this movie should have happened in the early 2000s? No, I'm not even joking.
Instead of 2008?
It would have been a little bit better.
It would have been a lot worse if it happened in the early 2000s. If you're complaining about the CGI now,
it would have been like the Mummy with the big sand face. Yeah,
that's true. And also, I want to say, like, just some other things that I really like about Crystal Skull is that the color is gorgeous in it. Like, it looks like a classic Technicolor film where all the colors are vibrant.
Yeah, everything had a misty kind of look to it that reminded me of watching the old. Like, I felt like this one fits in well.
I don't know, because like those green screens with the backgrounds, there is that like weird misty gloss to it. And it just it feels like, all right, here's the real set and here's where the video game background starts. Like, especially during the car chase.
Well, I was also saying to you too, I was watching on like a really bad compression, so
I watched
the movie looked
this.
great to me, but it was because all the quality of the movie was bad.
When you're watching it at 240p, it really covers up how bad the CG is.
When I saw it in the theater, it triggered something in my memory where I just felt like I was watching one of those like classic rear screen projection things, where I just saw it as like a tribute. Maybe it was too much of a callback,
it's another thing where I don't think it was executed as well as it could have been.
So if you're so the perfect viewing of this is sitting in the back of a minivan eating beef jerky, Karen.
Yeah. I watched most of it at the office.
Can we talk about villains? I don't like the Russians. I don't like I like Cate Blanchett as an actress. She's a great villain. She was good in the new Thor movie. Her character is kind of confusing. She's like, oh, I can control minds, but then she can't. But she kind of can.
Control Indy because he's fucking Indy.
Or is she just lying? It's confusing. Molaram? I know exactly. Molaram.
Molaram's a little better. Yeah, I'll give you that.
All right, maybe it's weird that the main villain of the film shows up an hour into the film, but Molaram, like, he's there. Like, I get what he wants to do. He's a bald guy who wants to get multiple stones to take over the world. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
Oh, I guess like a Thanos.
Infinity War. So what I'm saying is Marvel ripped off Temple of Doom. But there's a scene where he tells the plan. He's like, hey, I want to get the stones.
Soon we will have all the 5 Shankara stones. And the Thuggies will be all powerful.
But like, it's so clear. But what is her plan? What is Cate Blanchett's plan? She wants to get knowledge for what?
She just wants to know. She has 3 Cross of Lenin.
Yeah.
But is she doing it to better Russia, or is she doing it for herself?
She wants to know. She wants to know, and also it's kind of like, she's working for the Russian government, of course. She's like one of those. But she wants to know for selfish reasons. That's why she explodes into dust when she learns everything.
Like everything else.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I think the Thuggy Cult and Molaram, they made more sense to me.
I like earlier when you said Molaram's a little bit better, because I like that as his campaign slogan. Like Molaram 2020.
2020, Molaram. A little bit better.
Musical motifs. The John Williams score is really good in Crystal Skull. They knew where to bring in like the nostalgia parts of the music. They kind of hit upon all like the motifs and everything, and I think they did a really good job with that. Also, if we can go through the opening scene, the first time you see Indy and you see that shadow on the Jeep. Or no, first you see the hat on the ground, then you see the shadow on the Jeep. He puts the hat on, the camera whips around, and dun 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 dun. It was a really good, introduction. Like, yes, he's back. And then you go into the warehouse and he's like swinging on the whip and there's the Jeep, crashes through and everything. Like, I think that was a really good
You see the Ark of the Covenant, like the corner of it.
It's a good starter.
He should have been like, hey guys, here it is right here. In the Ark of the Covenant box.
I don't like that it really broke the formula, because the first 3 movies, the beginning adventure, it's not too super tied to the plot. It feels like you're watching the end of a previous adventure each time. There are little things, like the Raiders introduces Belloc, which comes back later. But like Crystal Skull, like the opening adventure is tied to the main plot. It felt like it broke that for me. So that's my one issue with it. I'm like, I wish it would just be a different adventure, and then he has to deal with aliens.
The real opening adventure is hot rod racing.
Oh yeah,
That's true.
They're going down to the malt shop.
There's another scene I just wanted to mention that nobody talks about is the cemetery scene in Crystal Skull. It looks gorgeous. I just love how that scene looks.
I think the first shot is a miniature, which is rare for this movie, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good, and nobody talks about it. So I feel like that's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
There is another scene, because we compared the final battle scenes in each of the movies. This is the one part I really got to give it to Temple of Doom, because the minecart chase at the end and then the bridge, which is modeled after Gunga Din and Zorro, which was on the screen recently.
The bridge, every time I watch it, I'm like, it's literally the edge of the seat, because it's like, oh my God.
Like Temple of Doom, I feel like you just got to sit through a bunch of shit, but then it ends really good. So while one movie begins really strong and the other ends really strong, I feel like it's a little bit. That's where it becomes a little of a tough decision for me.
It's like, not only does he falls, he hits the wall, and then hits the crocodile.
I remember, I think we mentioned this plenty of times before, but this is your first episode. People like me and you, Justin, as kids, we watched a lot more violent stuff. So I think maybe that's why I was more into this Indiana. Like, I was okay with the gross and violence because I was already conditioned to it. Which I think, like, a lot of kids like me who liked Indiana Jones, they didn't like it because it was too much for them. I think maybe that might be an issue for some people. I will hear, you want to know, like, some complaints I actually have about Temple of Doom? Well, one, the main villain shows up like 50 minutes into the film. That's bad timing. They should have maybe dropped the reference to him. I think it changes the context of some of the stuff in Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's technically a prequel. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's funny when he shoots the guy. This movie, they do like a callback where now he has no bullets. And it's like, oh, that's a callback. But since this is a prequel, now you're like, oh, maybe he shot the guy because he remembered to keep his gun loaded at all times because that one time in India. And then when he's explaining the Ark to the people, he goes...
Yes, the actual 10 Commandments, the original stone tablets that Moses brought down out of Mount Hera have been smashed, if you believe in that sort of thing.
Oh, clearly he doesn't believe in anything. But it's like, oh no, he's saying that because he found out Shiva was real. So that's why he doesn't believe in the Ark. So I feel like So in my head, I feel like Indiana Jones became a Hindu in between films, and then he saw the Ark, and he's like, now I gotta rethink everything. That's my one issue. It changes the context of Raiders a little bit. But other than that, it's flawless. I love it.
So the one thing I wanted to mention about Crystal Skull, like a lot of people point to it as the oddball of the series. It's like if you look at it as in like, okay, it came out like decades later and it's the only one to have CG. Well, aside from like the skeleton and Last Crusade, all that, it's like, okay, yeah, in that sense, it's the oddball. It's never going to feel like it's going to feel more detached. But I always saw Temple of Doom as the oddball because that one it has a totally different kind of plot than the others. Where the Temple of Doom starts off, he's on the run from gangsters, jumps out a plane, coincidentally lands in a village in India where he takes on a mission to rescue slave children in a palace where human sacrifices are being done and like it's all over the place. Crystal Skull just kind of sticks to the format of Raiders and Crusade where it's like, okay, you have your opening like mini adventure and then somebody approaches Indy about the artifacts, he finds a clue, then dun 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 dun, red line on the map, another clue, another action scene, love scene, the enemies intervene, fight on top of a moving vehicle, fist fight, uncover the artifact, kills the bad guys, the end. So to me, it fits in more with...
You're leaving out the horrible double, triple, quadruple agent friend of his.
Oh, that sucked.
That guy sucks.
That did suck, yeah.
Every single movie, Indiana Jones is getting betrayed by whoever is like
I'm fine with that, but when it happens at the beginning and the middle and the end and then the end again.
I kind of liked it because in Crusade, it's once like you find out Ilsa's a Nazi. Okay,
you can only be a double agent. You can't be. He's like, oh, what are you, a triple agent? Like, no, he's a double agent. You're too stupid. You trusted him twice.
And then he ends up getting sucked into another dimension or whatever.
Where he might be king now because he might have tricked the aliens.
That's true too, yeah. You know, honestly, all those Russians that got sucked in, they might be living it up in another dimension. Just like it might be awesome.
With aliens. We have all the gold in the universe.
Right? Like that, it's probably great over there. It's probably awesome.
I think Temple of Doom has the best like Star Wars reference / joke, and I think it goes over everyone's head. Everyone knows Club Obi-Wan and all that stuff, but there's a great moment where the plane is going down. He gets in the pilot seat as he would if he was Han Solo. And the girl goes, do you know how to fly this? And he takes a minute, and like in your brain, you're like, well, of course he knows how to fly. He's Star Wars. And then he just goes,
You know how to fly,
don't you?
No. Do you?
Oh no.
I don't know. For me, that's like the best Star Wars thing.
A reference,
For me, I feel it's like a reference because he's sitting in the seat as he would have, like the same seat as Han Solo. I thought it was really good.
I would say a aircraft is harder to fly than a spacecraft. You're dealing with like gravity and wind.
You're not dealing with like zero gravity and really just 360 movement.
I never thought of that one. Final thoughts?
Well, I'll say this. I still like Crystal Skull better because I remember what you did with Speed 2, so fuck off. There you go. Crystal Skull's better.
Temple of Doom is great. It's great. Crystal Skull, I'm proud. I'm happy that Crystal Skull exists because it shows that we should not have Spielberg and Harrison Ford make another Indiana Jones movie. It's going to be embarrassing. Have someone new do it, please, for the love of God. And don't watch the movie unless you have Crystal Head Vodka by Dan Aykroyd.
Manufactured to bring you a truly non-enhanced, pure spirit.
I like Temple of Doom. And that's just how it is. I think it's fun. I think they took more risk with it than, let's say, Crusade. And even though that breaks that formula you're talking about, I'm kind of happy with that because I see the character doing new things. And there's a lot of cool parts in it. So, yeah, that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're both kind of like guilty pleasure type of movies, but I like Crystal Skull a little better because I find it more fun, where I feel like it's more of a callback to like, you know, Robin Hood sword fighting or Tarzan swinging through the jungle. It's like that's what movies were about. Where Temple of Doom is kind of like this gritty horror film where I don't go to Indiana Jones to want a horror film. I want like a bright adventure. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
You're looking for more on-brand entertainment.
Yeah, but you know, I did discover the real problem with Crystal Skull, and that might help a little bit, is if you're drinking some Crystal Skull vodka to go with it. So
I can't wait.
So
you have a tiny one.
I have a tiny one because this one is water. And you know what that means. That means it was drank. And I did not drink all this, but
I think a previous rental review, we killed that in between episodes.
Is that what happened?
I think we did. Because I think I was like, you have Crystal Head Vodka?
Yeah.
Oh, to Dan Aykroyd's cameo in Temple of Doom for not being, it's actually a really good cameo. It's not distracting. It's not infuriating like a recent cameo. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, to Dan Aykroyd.
To Dan Aykroyd.
To Dan Aykroyd.
To Dan Aykroyd.
May you get sucked into that other dimension one day.
Yeah.
L'chaim.
Oh, God.
That's actually a really smooth vodka.